Als dopinghandelaar? Ja, zeker wel. Ja, nee.
Kom, uit.
The Netherlands is at the center of an international doping trade, and prosecutors aren't doing anything about it.
Is het nu afgelopen?
Ja, ik vind het leuk, Dirk.
Lance Armstrong shocked the world, but the problem may reach further than you realize.
Goed controleren. Je ziet dat er nu lucht komt. In plaats van bloed, dat betekent dat je in de spier zit.
In the Netherlands alone, there are 160,000 users.
Dit bij elkaar is €270.
Er is ooit blijkbaar iets aan de grensoverschrijdende
This
samenwerking.
report reveals how a Dutch doping network has made enormous profits distributing illegal drugs and confronts the group's ringleader with the evidence.
Hoe lang bent u doorgegaan met die handel?
Peter is 31 years old and an enthusiastic, long-term member of a public gym. He is keen to talk about his doping, but wants to remain anonymous. For many years, he has been using a diverse range of performance-enhancing drugs, steroids, and hormone treatments.
Van Anavar tot
Anavar,
Lumistrol,
Lumistrol, Dianabol, Testosterone, Deca, Trenbolone. Actually, I've used all well-known means.
Die heb ik gebruikt.
Have you used several forms together?
Ja, dat
Yes,
heet
it's
steken.
called
Dus
stacking.
je zet
You
een
put together a
samen
course
uit
combining
bepaalde
certain
en dan
drugs
doe je,
in response to your physique
hoe je
and the goal you want to
lichaamsbouw is,
achieve,
wat je doel is, wat je wenst
to get
te
the weight and the look you want.
bereiken. Het aantal kilogram en het uiterlijk wat je wilt krijgen. En,
On that basis, it's like a medical treatment.
En dat doe je met middelen die
We achieve this with substances which all work together.
Toen ik jong
was your
was
goal?
mijn doel zo groot als mogelijk te worden.
When I was young, my goal was to be as large as possible,
Zoveel mogelijk spiermassa
so
erbij
really
krijgen.
bulking up.
En ik denk
maximum
naarmate dat
muscle
je
mass.
ietsje ouder wordt,
And as I've gotten older,
dat het doel niet
that
meer zo
purpose is
hoog
no
is.
longer predominant, I think.
En dat je eerder gewoon er goed wil
You just want to look good.
uitzien. En,
And you just want
gewoon
dry
hoge
muscle
spiermassa
mass.
wilt hebben. Hier is het bot, hier is het bot. Dit is het bereik wat je
This
wil
is
hebben.
bone, this is bone. This is the range
Maak
that
je
you
goed
want.
schoon.
So you make that clean.
Goed controleren.
We'll check.
Je ziet dat er nu lucht
If air
komt.
comes out
In
instead
plaats
of
van
blood,
dat het
you're in the
bereikt dat
muscle.
je in de spier zit. En dan kun je
And then you put in your injection. Peter has injected himself this way hundreds of times. The man he is injecting here is an acquaintance of his from the gym who refuses to speak. Doping is probably most notorious in the world of athletics. Jela Strick is a competition athlete. She is a world champion, 8 times in the bench press and 3 times in powerlifting.
Hoeveel...
How many kilos? This is
105.
105.
Wat is
And what's your personal record?
200.
200. 200 kilos, yes. Jela has trained in the gym nearly every day for years, and she has seen a great deal of doping. Not by athletes, but by regular gym users. There are people who in such a short time are lifting big weights and seem horribly strong. It's just not possible. As a novice lifter, you do make progress, but over time. You cannot make 40 kilo jumps. That is simply not possible. You'll hear these crazy things. People who really want to achieve something quickly. What do? No idea. A hormone treatment, you see them grow, but you also see them change in terms of mood. Because what happens? There are some who really may explode over nothing. Pim de Ronde specializes in internal medicine at the Kennemer Hospital in Haarlem. For 2 years, he has treated gym users who have been doping. Each week, he adds a few new names to his list of anabolic outpatients. An average course consists of 2, 3, or sometimes even more different chemicals. Often 2 or 3 anabolic steroids combined. Decadurabolin is common, trenbolone, boldenone, and dianabol. These are both oral and intravenous. In about a quarter of the cases, growth hormones were added. That is not anabolic steroids. It is a hormone that you inject and also has the effect of muscle growth. And insulin is sometimes used to be able to eat more in order to get more calories.
Nog meer te kunnen eten, nog meer calorieën binnen te kunnen krijgen. Het is een hoog cowboygehalte.
There's a certain cowboy attitude, and that provides part of the risk. So many people use a variety of drugs, mixing them, and people don't know when to stop. It is escalating. Many of his patients suffer problems with their libido. They lose their desire to have sex. Another side effect is depression. I've seen men present rather large psychological problems during their course, things you would consider symptoms of paranoia. I even once had a patient whose symptoms were so acute, a psychiatrist recommended he should be interned because of these problems.
Doping is
for many people still only a problem in the sporting world. I also have the impression that many policymakers are only concerned with sports doping. A familiar example is the furore about Lance Armstrong and doping in cycling. I think the problem is greater in amateur sports, and that is something that receives little attention in discussion and policy. I have often said that it's high time that cycling's dirty laundry was thoroughly cleaned. Last week, we took a positive step forward, I think. The Dutch health minister stated that the doping scandals in cycling showed that time and again sport needs to be cleaned of doping. The minister did call on the fitness industry to acknowledge the responsibility of the sector itself. Gym owners should be helping to prevent doping. Industry figures insist that they are taking notice. FitVac owns 940 gyms in the Netherlands. Arrangements have been made with companies that put in place anti-doping policies. There is an anti-doping agreement containing rules that if any members are caught using drugs, they must be disbarred from their clubs where they train. These regulations were made in consultation with the doping authority, which provides information, organises doping controls, and informs athletes. Director Herman Ram estimates there are 160,000 users in the Netherlands, and that many will suffer with health problems. The picture is starting to become a little clearer because we now have the anabolic outpatient system, where users are monitored with questionnaires. And there you see that the percentage suffering side effects is huge. There are very few people free of symptoms, in the region of a few percent. All other users have at least one or more complaints linked to their doping. The articles for doping in gyms came into effect on January 1st, 2012. Article 9.4 reads, the consumer is not allowed to make use of the equipment and facilities if under the influence of doping agents. How often has this regulation been violated in the past year? It hasn't been violated. How can that be? I do not know. You are a member of the trade association? We have no signals that this rule is violated. You are saying that the rule hasn't been violated. Your first reaction, please. 940 gyms, 160,000 users. That means, I think, that the statement is false. I think there must be violations which do not penetrate to the management or lead to expulsion, as was intended. Peter is one of the thousands of users to have suffered side effects. He reported to Dr. Ronda with strange aches in his chest.
Na mijn kuur had ik last
After my treatment, I had suffered with gynecomastia. Gynecomastia, nipple swelling in men, caused by excess estrogen in your blood.
Te hoog oestrogeengehalte in je bloed. Dat komt door kuren.
That's due to the steroids and hormones. And that can hurt in your chest.
Met die kwalen zat ik. En met die
With these
vragen ben ik
ailments,
daar naartoe geweest.
and with these questions, I went to Dr. Ronda. I got through my treatment with Dr. Ronda and received more insight when he tested my blood. And consequently, I could take steps to relieve the pain.
Waardoor de pijn is weggegaan.
Ben je daarna gestopt met...
Have you stopped doping,
van doping? Of ben je
or just continued?
Ik ben daarna
I then
gestopt,
stopped,
maar dit is
but this is no reason for me to stop completely.
Ik heb gewoon een persoonlijke
I have
pauze
taken a break,
ingelast en
and I will begin another course in time.
over een tijd weer een kuur gaan doen.
Most performance-enhancing drugs are purchased via the internet. Anabolic steroids, growth hormones, and EPO. All available on websites, with the products arranged as you would find on any normal online retailer. The question is, where do all these drugs come from? Altogether, this is €270. Johan has supplied performance-enhancing drugs in Dutch gyms for decades, delivering the chemicals with strict instructions, showing buyers how best to use them. He refuses to show his face on camera.
Hoeveel klanten
How many customers operate in this way?
Kijk, het is
Look,
komen
it's come and go, come and go, come and go.
Het is niet
So it is not
op één
one time.
moment. Er is geen
There is no
grote
greater
verloop als
turnover
het
than in the
sport.
gym,
Dus het
so
blijft
it keeps
maar
going.
doorgaan. Morgen wordt hij
Tomorrow,
18, bij
he
wijze
is
van
18,
spreken.
so
Komt
to
de
speak.
sportschool binnen.
He hits the gym.
Dag daarna, en
This
zo
keeps
blijft
the
het maar
market
doorgaan.
going.
Het is een
It continues.
relatie, dat blijft achter elkaar
So you
doorgaan.
cannot say
Je
how
kan
many
niet zeggen van
customers.
hoeveel klanten.
Yes, over the years, of course,
Ja, door de
thousands.
loop der jaren heen natuurlijk duizenden.
Thousands
Door de
through the
jaren
years.
Ja.
heen. Ja. Dus er wordt heel
There
wat
is a lot
op
purchased over the internet.
Ja, en daar hoor
I
je
hear a
natuurlijk
thing or
ook
two
het een en ander
that there are bad
over,
drugs out there,
dat er gewoon
and that scares me.
seksuele tussen zitten en dat
Then I
beantwoord
immediately
wel.
think,
Dan denk
my,
ik
my,
meteen
we are
van,
sunk.
Jongen, wat zijn we diep gezakt. Vroeger
In
was
the
alles
past,
perfect.
everything was
Alle spullen
perfect.
kwamen uit
All
een
things came from an
officiële
official plant.
waarvan je
The pharmaceutical industry?
van, ja,
Yes,
van
yes.
uit de
The
officiële
official
farmaceutische
pharmaceutical industry.
zoals
From Organon, Pfizer,
Pfizer,
Shearing,
Shearing, noem
you
maar op.
name it.
En dan wist
And you
je,
knew
dan
what you
wist je
bought with
met
confidence.
een gerust hart wat je kocht.
All that was
Het
left
enige
to think
wat er
about
overbleef, ja,
was how does
hoeveel
one
gaat
use
iemand
it?
gebruiken? Nou, en
It's
dat,
not like that now.
dat hebben we nu dus niet.
Johan has seen the doping trade transform. There are groups of traders active who import raw materials and then produce their own drugs in laboratories.
Het probleem
The
is
problem is
dat we nu
that we're
met
now stuck with underground laboratories.
laboratoriums opgescheept zitten.
What's the problem?
Nou ja, die dus
Well,
anabole
the anabolic
steroïden
steroids
maken
are,
waarvan je
you
eigenlijk
can't
niet
trust
weet
exactly what
wat er
happens.
precies gebeurt. Terwijl we
We
vroeger
previously
precies
knew
wisten
reliably
dat
that
het
it's all
allemaal
good
goede en
and what the
officiële
official products
producten
were.
waren. Maar hoe groot
But how big is the bang we will get down the line from these
gaan
counterfeit
krijgen in de
drugs?
loop der jaren van deze middelen die underground gemaakt worden?
Nobody
Dat
knows.
weet niemand. Ik kan
I can reveal nothing else
niks
about it
duidelijks
because I've never met these
over zeggen,
people.
om het dood eenvoudige feit dat ik die mensen zelf nog nooit ontmoet heb.
This is a rare photo taken in one of these underground laboratories, revealed by the doping authority. We are aware of the new way the merchants are working. It is of course illegal. The traders are not likely to come forward and will never seek publicity. They have their own interests. But it's underground. We have no clear picture of the industry. We know a little of what happens, but not accurately.
Hoeveel,
How many of these groups of traders are there in the Netherlands?
in Nederland, weet u dat?
Nee, dat kan ik
I
echt
cannot
niet
say.
zeggen. We weten dat het een
We
soort
know that
netwerk
it is
op
kind of a
het moment
network.
kent, elkaar.
People know each
Er
other,
zijn allerlei
and there are
relaties
many
in die
relationships
markt.
in that
We
market.
weten dat er een aantal
We
groepen
know that there are a
zijn.
number of
Ook nog een
groups and
aantal kleine
individuals,
individuen
but
natuurlijk,
not
maar we
much
weten niet
else.
wat het aantal is.
Although the anti-doping policy is mainly focused on sport, it is precisely at amateur levels where the dangers are highest, as with the 160,000 users in Dutch gyms. The risk of doping to their health is largely unknown, because the resources are produced in underground laboratories. It's unclear exactly how many doping laboratories there are in the Netherlands. But an answer to that question may lie across the border in Belgium. Belgium is home to an international investigation established to specifically combat the doping trade. The leadership of the specialist anti-doping team, chaired by Francis Clarice, operate from this monumental HQ.
Olivier
Ons represents customs, Walter Hill of the food agency, Jan van der Bonens of the police, and Roy van Koenberg from the medicines agency. And the federal public health is also represented. I think that being structured to work in this way avoids the various services working at cross purposes, pursuing the same targets. Information is shared. You also share knowledge and expertise. And it is also important because the people on the other side, the people whom we fight, are also well armed and have specialized consultants and lawyers, because the matter is quite technical, legally complicated, and also the field of detection of the products is complex. So it is important that all these knowledges are pooled and shared. The Netherlands has no specialist service to combat the doping trade. There is no agreement between the doping authority, justice, police, and customs.
Dat is echt elke
Each organization decides on strategies individually. How can that be? It's a simple choice for the government and the various agencies, either to do so or not. How serious is it that there is no similar organization in the Netherlands? From my position of responsibility, I find it very disturbing. To some extent, we are attending to an open tap with a mop. I would like to see the flow stopped. Belgium has, in recent years, been awash with drugs from the Netherlands, often with sales operating through Dutch registered websites. There are certainly some 20 websites suspected to be managed in the Netherlands. They also focus on marketing to Belgium. We can determine this because they themselves indicate on their websites that they deliver in Belgium, that they have a separate shipping fee for Belgium. The drugs are manufactured in Dutch underground laboratories, with all the risks that entails. That is the great danger to public health, that these athletes are not using quality drugs, the kind that the professional circuit can procure. But I will not name names. But the whole pyramid, underneath, turns to the black market. They pay much less for these products, but receive very dangerous products into their hands, which are counterfeited, which do not contain the substances on the attached label, even contain downright toxic substances. This Belgian team know, by thorough examination, precisely how many underground labs are active in the Netherlands. If you see that before 2011 we hadn't discovered a single lab, but that in the last few years 3 anabolic labs have been dismantled in Belgium, information that we previously had on 4 underground steroid factories in the Netherlands have almost doubled. We can say that there is a significant increase. Are you worried about it? Evidently. The Belgian authorities are able to indicate a concrete number. How can the Dutch doping authority not know itself? We are not a judicial investigative authority. We have not been tasked to detect this. We only hear from users, and we see the stuff on the market. That is our information about what is happening. Who then is responsible for fighting the drug trade in the Netherlands? According to the Ministry of Health, the agenda of minister shippers will not allow them to post comment. Customs and healthcare inspections will not comment for the camera either. Detection is a task for the Public Prosecutor's Office, who continue to prosecute the illegal drug trade. But doping is considered to be a secondary problem. After a trial on illegal drugs trafficking, the Public Prosecutor's Office offered the following explanation. We have in the last year been investigating the illegal drugs trade, and it has remained focused on the illegal drugs trade. That's the position of the prosecutor's office. We have done studies on illegal drugs, which were not targeted on the doping trade. But is it not that performance-enhancing drug trafficking is only a very specific niche in illegal drugs? Why take it separately? Today, we are talking about the trade in illegal drugs. Do you sometimes find much doping as a side catch to this kind of research? Today, we are only discussing the trafficking of illegal drugs. Following the interview, the Justice contacted us in writing to reveal that in the last year only one case of illegal doping was uncovered. We've also been to Rotterdam to raise a number of issues, but I think this matter remains a low priority in the Netherlands. You put the finger on the sore point. They've apparently suspended border cooperation in all areas. And that has to improve quickly. Let your broadcast be a signal to the politicians for some more round-table discussions. And the conversation cross-border must get easier. Otherwise we suffer more of this problem. These problems do not get solved, are not thoroughly addressed. And these problems must be eradicated branch and root. The threats to public health are simply too great. The Netherlands has therefore become a kind of distribution centre for doping products? I cannot say that. It is a weak link in the chain. A weak link? Yes, in international cooperation. And Belgium is worried? Of course. The prosecutor's office responded with this written statement. We do not recognise the picture you paint of our cooperation with international authorities. Just why do the Dutch justices allow this large-scale illegal drug trade? It's not as though they are unaware of the potential consequences. Anyone can drop dead is an internal Dutch government memo from 2005. It includes recommendations like this. The Public Prosecutor's Office should try to work with other parties to participate as much as possible to discourage drug trafficking. For the detection to be more likely to succeed, it is imperative to improve the cooperation between the Dutch investigative services. When asked if the recommendations had been enacted, the Public Prosecutor's Office responded as follows. The note had an internal character and therefore cannot be made public. Apparently no action was taken. At least I haven't seen any of this report coming into effect. How serious do you consider it that in 2005 there is an urgent need identified and that it's going to happen and it fails to appear? In my daily life it is serious. Of course I'd like to see that development in place, but so far it hasn't worked.
Op, Kees. Rek. Ja.
Goedemiddag voor Kees Aarding. We gaan naar 130 kilogram.
Ilja Strik, gaat u maar naar binnen, voor de weging. 85,9.
9, genoteerd.
Hij is wel nieuw, maar hij is wel goed ook.
Heel veel succes, Ilja, vandaag.
Ben je wel eens...
Have you ever tested positive?
Test.
No,
Ik wil dat
I just
gewoon
won't.
niet. Want
because the risk it entails
want het
is,
risico ook
if I
met
did
zich
it and I
meebrengt
was
is,
caught,
stel voor dat
to
ik
have
het wel
anyone
zou
point the
gaan doen.
finger at me saying, I
En
knew
ik word
it.
gepakt. Nou, dan
That I
wijst
do not
iedereen
want.
met het vingertje van zie nou wel.
Everything I had done would go in the trash.
Wil ik helemaal niet, joh. Mijn hele, alles wat ik ervoor gedaan heb, is in één tel is het zo in de prullenbak.
Today, Iela is chasing a record.
Iedereen gaat nu proberen dat gewicht wel te tillen. Wat ze 25 mei niet lukte, maar nu gaat ze het wel doen. Kom op, en ik heb het vermoeden dat dit gewoon een wereldrecord is. Alleen ja, helaas bij een competitiewedstrijd wordt hij niet herkend. Moet je gaan, hè? Dames en heren.
Ver genoeg naar voren. Kom op, ver genoeg naar voren. Ja. Ja, kom op, los.
Drukken. Start. Res. Kom door! Door!
Wacht eens.
Helaas. Jammer. Even voor een applaus voor deze paardje, dames en heren. Dit is niet niks, hoor.
What went wrong? It just didn't feel good. I don't know what it is today.
Intillen voelde al niet lekker en
The intilling already felt uncomfortable. It all takes too long. I just can't. It's just sour. Last week and the week before I pushed so easy. And now, on the day, I bottle it. That actually happens to me. It's impossible. So, you're having another try? Yes. Just how seriously Dutch doping policy fails is revealed when reconstructing how only one of the largest networks of recent years operated. It's November 2003. In Antwerp, customs find a suspicious package. That discovery leads to a house with over $500,000 worth of illegal performance-enhancing drugs. A Belgian couple are arrested. The police of Antwerp investigated further, and it then emerged that the couple was selling steroids. One of their suppliers was a Dutchman who supplied generic supplements.
Een van hun leveranciers betrof dan een Nederlander die hun generic supplements leverde.
Generic supplements. The Belgian police note that it's a Dutch group, manufacturing large quantities and then selling them worldwide. Generic supplements appear very frequently in raids, in bodybuilders, in studies in narcotics. If one takes anabolic steroids, then there is a very frequent presence of such products. They are very low quality, and that can be very dangerous. What is in the bottle is not always what is on the label.
Wat er in het flesje zit, is niet altijd wat er op het etiket staat.
It's discovered that the group runs an underground lab in the Brabant Veldrechem. That laboratory, at the request of the Belgians, is raided. The group's laboratory assistant is detained. This is the official report of his interrogation. It reveals that the group who makes generic supplements controls the Dutch market violently. The American bodybuilder Dorian Yates was brutally assaulted by enforcers of the dope dealers in 2003. Yates had organised a competition in the Netherlands without the permission of the group. I think there is a great deal of violence, though I have never actually had any problems. When does that happen? When it comes to money. The drug trade is worth tens of millions of euros. The technician from Veldrechem got community service. We speak to him, but he refuses to appear on camera. Generic supplements remains active, even following his conviction.
Heeft u van de Nederlanders nog
Have you heard from the Dutch police or prosecutors how it went with that group? Because there was a raid in Veldrechem.
Wat is er gebeurd, meneer?
What happened, Mr. van der
Ik heb
Boynens?
daar geen feedback over
I
gekregen.
have received no feedback, none.
Feedback over gekregen?
It's apparently a very large organisation.
Een grote organisatie.
generic supplements just keep showing up. The Belgian police decided in 2006 to launch an undercover operation in the Netherlands. Belgian officers performed a fake purchase of drugs in Breda. As a result, 2 dealers in generic supplement products were arrested. Yes, it might be painful for our country. How can it be that the Belgian courts had to perform a sting operation to catch Dutch criminals? It just happens. Yes, I understand. It is disturbing. I think again the question at issue is why this is not a higher priority for the investigating authorities. Generic supplements remain on the market, despite the Belgian police action. I greatly regret it, but we can only solve crimes that happen in Belgium. Yes, but how can you leave it as the Dutch do nothing about it? I don't know if they do nothing. We can only relay information and hope that they do. In this police report, the big man is named. It's Mike Tikandon, a trainer of martial artists. Tikandon was held in 2005. He had inter alia clenbuterol in his possession, an asthma remedy for horses, and Boldane, an agent that is used on dogs following surgery. Both agents are also sold as performance enhancers. There are large volumes produced, and that finds its way into the system. So there are large amounts consumed by humans, and probably by people with the impression that there's no risk, no harm, or any idea how to control the risks. And it's not true that the risk acutely translates into death traps immediately. There is a serious risk, and that often doesn't manifest until years after use. So this has serious implications for public health. Tikandon was sentenced in 2006 for extortion and drug trafficking, but generic supplements remains very much on the market. This is generic supplements, one of Deca and Dianabol. This is the new packaging for generic supplements. They have made it better. It fits through the letterbox. It used to be in jars like this, but they don't fit through the letterbox. Peter has a website, which he uses to inform users about doping. Generic supplements products are simply listed. I think that you pay the higher price for some stuff to avoid detection. The authorities have let generic supplements slip by for over 10 years, taking their doping to markets beyond national borders, with all the risks that entails. The authorities know the dangers of this type of trade, as revealed by the internal memo from 2005. But maybe Mike Tikandon himself can explain why generic supplements are still able to trade. He coaches athletes and runs a gym in Apeldoorn. He has also agreed to an interview and promised to answer any questions on illegal doping.
De begeleiding is zo, ik train ze gewoon. Ik maak een schema, als een voedingsschema maak ik, trainingsschema. Ik train ze als dat voor kiezen persoonlijk. En als ze voor kiezen om te gaan gebruiken, zeg maar, adviseer ik ze daarin. Ja. Maar het is wel hun eigen keuze. Het is hun eigen individuele keuze. Dat is voor mij heel belangrijk.
Zij maken de keuze om te gaan gebruiken, dopingproducten.
Ja.
En dan?
Dan adviseer ik wat het beste voor hen is.
Heeft u ook in dopingproducten gehandeld?
Nee.
Niet?
Nee.
Want het is zo dat... Ik heb me enigszins verdiept, zeg maar, in een bepaalde groep.
Ja.
Genaamd Generic Supplement.
Ja.
Kent u die naam? Nee. Hoe kan dat? Want ik heb begrepen dat er rondom Generic Supplements... er in maart 2004 een inval is gedaan in Woudrichem.
Daar weet ik helemaal niks van.
Nou, ik zou het even willen afmaken. Er wordt een ondergronds laboratorium aangetroffen. daar, waar een zekere werkzaam was.
Geen, nee.
Kent u die naam?
Nee.
Die naam kent u niet?
Nee.
Want ik heb namelijk het proces
Dirk, hier heb
verbaal
ik geen
hier.
zin.
Ik heb namelijk het proces verbaal
Ja, maar hier heb ik geen zin in, Dirk.
En
nee.
in dat proces verbaal wordt u eigenlijk genoemd als iemand die in die groep werkzaam is.
Nee, maar ik heb hier geen zin in, Dirk. Dit is niet de opzet van jouw verhaal.
Nou,
nee.
Ik stel nu even de vraag over iets wat ik hier gelezen heb.
Nee, vind ik niet leuk. Nee.
Niet leuk, maar is het gebeurd?
Nee.
Bent u bij die groep betrokken geweest?
Ja, maar ik wil hier niet verder op ingaan, Dirk. Dat vind ik niet leuk, want ik heb hier niks mee te maken verder. Ik wil wel vertellen over het dopinggebruik en alles hoe en wat, maar niet, nee.
Maar ik noem nu de naam van de laborant. Die kent u toch wel?
Nee, maar ik wil... nee, het is goed zo. Kom maar.
Maar...
Nee, dat is niet leuk. Daar heb ik niks mee te maken gehad. Dat is het hele verhaal.
Ja, wel.
Nee.
Dat staat in de processen verbaal.
Maar ik heb niks mee gehad, als je het goed gelezen hebt.
Nee, dat staat er wel. Moet ik het voorlezen?
Dat ligt me voor.
U wordt beschouwd als de vermeend leider van die organisatie.
Ja, dat bedoel ik. Echt niet. Hier heb ik geen zin in.
En in november 2005 wordt Glenn Butterol aangetroffen.
Neem je het nou op of niet?
Jawel, ja zeker. Ik probeer toch de vraag te stellen. U heeft een voorraad producten in uw bezit, waaronder boldanen. Dat is een middel wat wordt gebruikt bij honden die een chirurgische ingreep hebben gehad.
Kom Dirk, klaar.
Nee. Wat is er gebeurd?
Niks.
Ik denk het wel.
Kom jongens, kom, kappen met. Dit is niet leuk.
Maar ik mag toch die vragen stellen?
Nee, maar ik vind het ook niet goed, hè? Ik wil dit niet uitgezonden hebben.
Nee, maar ik mag die vragen toch
stellen? Nee, we hadden afgesproken dat we over doping zouden gebruiken.
Dit zijn vragen over doping en wat u in het verleden heeft gedaan.
Nee, ik heb het over nu.
Dat begrijp ik, maar er zijn een paar momenten geweest, kennelijk, in uw bestaan als begeleider of als dopinghandelaar. Ja, zeker wel. Ja, nee.
Kom, eruit. Kom maar.
Is het nu afgelopen?
Ja, ik vind het leuk, Dirk. Wat een heel andere afspraak, toch?
Nee, helemaal niet. We konden alles vragen over uw...
Ja, maar niet over andere...
Over uw activiteiten.
Ja, ik heb er niks mee te maken,
ik kom uw naam in 2004 tegen.
Nee, 2005.
In 2005 tegen. Ja. Hoe lang bent u doorgegaan met die handel?
Jammer, Dirk.
Wat is jammer?
Ja, ik heb hier andere...
Kijk, de dopinggebruikers zoals Lance Armstrong, die bekennen. En die zeggen van, sorry, ik heb er spijt van. Dat kan u nu ook zeggen. U kan nu ook zeggen van, het is gebeurd.
Mike DeCandon will not speak another word about it. In his professional career, he has accompanied kickboxer Badr Hari, bodybuilders, and has been in the service of the Dutch Bodybuilding and Fitness Association. Maybe it's helped that we began talking about doping, but I simply can't. I've pushed harder. Have you achieved this completely drug-free? Yes, absolutely, absolutely, yes. No drugs for me. Not required.
Niet nodig.